Oh, we're so ready for the podcast. Um, let's just go. I'm ready to go. We're ready to talk about cricket. We're back. Hello, Jamie.
I
Are you as excited as I am for 2024 and all the cricket that is to come?
I'm as excited as I was last year.
If we're not, I've seen a lot of podcasts talk about let's do a review of 2023.
Mhm.
I can't be bothered. But if you had to sum up 2023 for the cricket,
Mm.
could you do it in one word?
Um, Unmemorable, but that
In
might just be me.
Yeah, it's.
I don't
I
remember a lot of England games.
yeah, I
A lot
almost
of the
want to.
World Cup is sort of just gone.
Yeah, I almost want to say underwhelming, but I thought the Ashes was brilliant.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that happened.
but I feel like that was for me the only kind of highlight. I couldn't. I'm sure I would be able to, you know, from the cricket burrows of my mind, pull up the scorecard from when England play against New Zealand away in March. But it's not like at the front four of my mind. The Ashes stands out. The World Cup was bad. Um, the white ball legs at the end of the summer and the winter were bad. Um,
I mean, especially like England wise, there were a lot of random games like the Ireland series or
yeah,
the West Indies series just tacked on at the end. Like,
yeah.
I don't care.
So yeah, it's a lot of meaningless cricket when international cricket seems to be suffering from an identity anyway. But enough of that. We're excited for cricket for this year. That's what we're excited for. Um, how would you like? Would you like me to? It's a kind of review in terms of like what we've missed since we last did the
Mm.
podcast. Our last podcast of two whinging Englishmen about Australia winning the World Cup. Apparently, um, did you enjoy that? That was our most listened to, most watched podcast. Almost 2,000 views, I think.
Yeah, it was
Right?
nice to
I don't
see
think
a
we were that
thousand
whingy.
views. I mean, any comment helps the algorithm of the videos.
It did.
So
So
if
yeah,
you vehemently disagree with what we say, let us know
yeah,
and like
we'll
call us
disagree back.
twats and balance. Just like slate the fuck out of us. It just means more people will watch the video and like drive us
Yeah.
towards monetization, which is cool.
Yeah, it really helps. It does. It helps us an awful lot. So I very much appreciate it. I
Yeah,
enjoy that we've got a kind of a weird demographic across our socials in that so far our YouTube channel is very much if we say something that someone doesn't agree with, usually if they're Australian, then there'll be comments saying stuff about stuff we didn't say, um, which is nice. So we have kind of the saltiness. Twitter, I think, is the kind of surprisingly the nice common ground where it's just cricket fans talking about cricket, and it's usually quite calm there. Apart from a time when I talked about ticket prices, which I think I was right to, and TikTok is basically just memes, which are just blowing up all the time. So I don't. It's
like
what is just not cricket this year. Who knows?
like there's such a dearth in quality pundits that are ex-cricketers,
Yeah,
and like I wouldn't particularly advise taking their analysis that seriously. So why would you take the analysis of two non-ex-cricketers that are doing a
two
podcast
current
for a hobbit?
cricketers.
I just said for a hobbit as well. Like that's how fucking unprofessional we are. I don't even know what we're doing.
It's our kind of cricket podcast, but yeah, it's well, if you listen to this and you find something to be angered about, that's good. That helps us, and we've struck a chord, which is good. If you listen to this and you think, that's fine, sure. If you watch
Also,
our
let us
memes and
know
you
and
enjoy
comment.
that, cool. Yeah. I just enjoy that there's a vast variety of cricket silly stuff that you can find through Just Not Crick Pod. And also, if you want to play cricket, you can also do that through us through the Wicket Whippets. Right, that's all our promo-ish. Let's talk about actual cricket, because you said you've kind of kept your head to the ground. Well, I'll get my head to the ground. You've kind of put your head in the sand in terms of cricket stuff that's happened of the last, I'm gonna say, 2 months.
I wouldn't say in the sand. I was like, I know there's sand there, so I'm gonna like go to the jungle into the
Yeah.
dark depth of the bipolar football world that is Manchester
Hmm.
United.
Sure.
And that's been
That's been
yeah,
happy for you.
it is. It is. Yeah, don't worry about it.
It's it's all good. So to remove you from that kind of sadness, I've got the all the cricket stuff, and it's surprising. There's an awful lot. I wrote this during a lunch break at work, so it may not make sense to me as I read it through. I have got a kind of overall question at the end. It's kind of stuff we've tread ground on before, but
Yes, I do want to quit the pod now.
as soon as you start talking about cricket, no, thank you. Um, but here we go. Anyway,
Cool.
starting off, the first thing I think that happened was England played West Indies, as we mentioned briefly just now, at the end of the year in December, which is what everybody wanted after the debacle of the World Cup, picking kind of the Ireland squad from the end of the summer, but with kind of Butler and a few other people like Livingston, but not Sam Hain, which was ludicrous. They lost both the ODI and the T20 series. But Phil Salt got two T20 hundreds, I think, back to back, which is pretty cool. And I imagine that he will be one of the mainstays in the white ball side going forward, especially with the World Cup coming up. Rayan Ahmed bowled pretty well. It felt like it was a kind of experimental series to be like, let's throw a lot of these younger players into the fray, whilst also not playing some of the players they had in the squad who haven't played that much, like Ollie Pope. Not sure why he went, but he was there for a nice holiday. But yeah, I've not got a lot to say. Didn't watch it. It's one of the first things in the series, I think, in my memory that I haven't watched. And I just had no interest in doing so. And that's all I've got really. Phil Salt did well. Rian Armour did well, which I'm happy to see. Butler got kind of some runs, but not really anything to shout home about. And that's kind of it, in my opinion.
I have no particular interest in the series. It's
No,
more about like, is this a building block to what England actually want to play, or were they just trying out players? Like, if they have this kind of squad going forward, then stick with it for the
yeah,
tournament and don't bring back players that have retired and are half injured all the time.
yeah. It has that kind of weird sense of like it's a very safe squad in that I don't really think that Matthew Mott's position or Butler's position are very secure, and it just felt like going through the motions without actually doing anything meaningful. Which you're not really going to be able to after a World Cup anyway, because no one cares. But there was the other story. I think I sent it to you about Jofra Archer going to play a game for his old club without telling the ECB when Rob Key found out during interview, which was very lol. Yeah, that's it. I mean, Matthew Mott has said that Stokes and Archer will have a place in the T20 World Cup team when that comes around. Sure. But I mean, there's not a lot of England. Yeah, for England white ball stuff, there's not a lot coming up. So I that feels like going back into regressing sad end of year times. So the test matches start soon against India. And England announced a squad a long time ago. Can you remember that squad, Jamie?
No, of course I can't.
Would you like me to tell you
Yeah,
the
go on then.
squad?
Yeah.
You have Ben Stokes as captain, surprisingly. Anderson, Gus Atkinson, our favourite player,
Yay.
Johnny Bairstow, Harry Brook, Zach Crawley, Ben Duckett, Ben Folkes, Tom Hartley, spinner, Jack Leach, Ollie Pope, Rayan Ahmed, Ollie Robinson, Joe Root, Shoaib Bashir, and Mark Wood. Thoughts?
I mean, it's weird that it's no Broad anymore, isn't it? Like
Mm,
that.
it does stand out, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think the Bashir one was the
Yeah.
weird one. I can't. Was it Liam Dawson that was on everyone's mind that was to be picked,
Yeah.
especially for
Yeah, he
India?
had a very, very good 2023 season. And
Um,
then, yeah, nowhere.
like similar to the white ball stuff. This is when you have to like just go and pick Rian Ahmed and
Mm-hmm.
stick with him and give him a
Yeah.
chance and just he's your guy now. And if you
Yeah.
don't, or if you revert after this series, it just undoes any work
Yeah.
for this series. So
Yeah.
I don't know, standard team. I'd like folks to be keeping.
I think he will.
You'd
I
hope so, especially in India,
you'd
and
hope so.
Bairstow's sort of like indifferent to shite form from the Ashes.
Yeah, and Bairstow has had an interview this week or last week or wherever we are, probably yesterday, saying that he doesn't really care, that he's happy to bat. If he keeps, he keeps. He'll go with what he's going with, which to me says it's going to be folks. Um, so I'd imagine that top seven would be the classic Crawley, Stokes. Sorry, I want to about Crawley, Duckett. I think Stokes at three, Root, Brook, Bairstow, and then folks.
Any chance of Bairstow at three? And
No,
if he's not keeping us,
he played at three in a Sri Lanka tour 2018, and then when they went to India in 2021, he batted at three then, and it was an absolute car crash. I think he was out about three times and two balls in one of the games, which was like it was chaos. So I would say no. I think he's had his best success recently at five and sort of six, seven. So I would be kind of anti-moving him, as I would be anti-moving Root. Stokes batted at three in the last test of the summer when Mo was injured, and Stokes isn't going to bowl in this series.
so then
So if
when
he's
does
just
it
playing,
get to the point of is Bairstow actually good enough for Test cricket? Because he's been playing in the team for years and he's been inconsistent at best. Like he had that amazing series against New Zealand that like
well,
when
he
I
obviously
like
had that, he had amazing form. Then he obviously had that almost career-ending injury, so he definitely deserved his place to come back. He had an okay Ashes. I'm gonna
but
say he
did
got
he even deserve
99 or
his
whatever.
place to come back? If you've got a player in form
Mm.
currently, do you replace them with a person that is just coming back from injury? I wouldn't say that you do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he will play.
I mean,
Um,
like Moeen Ali came and played when he was retired, so I
yeah,
don't know what Stokes and McCullum are going to do
yeah. I mean,
selection-wise. They'll probably not play two spinners. They might as well. They'll probably do Anderson, Atkinson, Wood, and just fucking
maybe.
vibes
I
it.
mean, I think the only question marks you have would be if you don't play folks, then I guess it would be Bairstow v Pope, and I think you go Bairstow. I don't think Pope is again. He's just come off an injury, hasn't set the world alight recently, apart from his massive 100 against Ireland. And I would feel more comfortable Bairstow there over them rather than Pope. But I no idea what they'll go with, so we'll see. Um, like you say, whether they go Rayan and Leach is up in the air. I imagine they would go Ahmed and Leach as two spinners and then rotate between two other seamers. And then you have Root to bowl as well. And Harry Brook, who this isn't a silly point, but it might as well be. Um, Harry Brook is hoping to be a permanent off spin option moving forward. Um, so you might
Oh,
know he bowls dibbly dobbly medium paces.
yeah, I was going to say
But
I wouldn't
he's
call what he bowls off spin.
Yep, but he's hoping to unveil his pretty good off spin bowling in the 100 in 2024. He said it was jokey at the start, but then I've actually started to get it pretty good at it. Brooke told reporters in the Caribbean, so I'm just trying to work on it and see what happens. Sure,
Baseball in it vibes.
might as well. So yeah, I imagine it will be Rayan and Leach, and then Anderson, Robinson, Atkinson, and Wood will be share the load. I don't see Bashir necessarily playing, but I mean, if he could, he's definitely been picked off promise rather than stats. He's only played 6 first class games and only has 10 wickets in first class cricket. I think Rayan only had played 3 first class games before his test debut, so that's just their way of thinking now. From everyone I've heard, he's tall and can get that kind of bounce, and that's what they kind of want for spinners in India. It's the same with Tom Hartley. But I would be surprised if we see them obviously to start, but maybe later in the series when we're 3-0 down. But yeah, yeah, you can't not really play Ahmed after how well he's done in England share every time he's played, and Leach coming back as your frontline spinner. So
You can
we'll
always
see on that
kind
basically.
of use Ahmed as a like a pseudo all-rounder
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he offers you a bit of that later on. I
yeah,
mean, that's yeah. I think you'd have the top seven that I mentioned, and then you rotate between those four bowlers. I think basically, I think that's as good as you're going to get with the squad they've picked. But alas, there has been we're hardly into this news at all. Jesus Christ, there
yeah.
has been some back and forth between Stephen Harmison and Ben Stokes. Harmison, I think, on a Talk Sports show was very critical
I mean,
upon
that's all
learning.
you need. On a talk sport show, you can just dismiss it as fucking shite.
This is the news. You can't disregard the news.
It's not
So,
news. It's talk sport. It's
so
garbage. It's not even garbage. It's not worthy to go into.
are we not talking sport?
Fuck off.
So, Harmison on undisclosed show was saying he was very critical that England were only arriving in India about 4 days before the first test. And was saying that is not obviously good preparation to come and then expect to do anything in the series at all. Going back in my day, we'd do this, this, and this. But I don't think Harmson ever won a series in India. I might be wrong, but I'm saying that. And then Stokes jumped straight back to be like, well, it's a good idea. It's a good thing that we're having a 3-week camp in Abu Dhabi and doing additional training when we arrive in India, then, isn't it? So it's quite nice to have that kind of happy back and forth before a series, just get that kind of, aminosity before England play. It's been missed.
I mean,
um,
I'd rather like Stokes fight back,
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think,
like defend
yeah,
what you're doing.
yeah, and I think it's always that classic case of someone sees a headline and then runs with it, thinking that's the truth. When a lot of this squad were in Abu Dhabi before Christmas, like Ahmed and Bashir and Hartley with the England Lions, with a lot of development squads and stuff like that. So they've been having their training. England Lions are going out there before the main England team going out there next week or the end of this week. So they're doing preparation. So just they're professional sportsmen. They're not going to not do anything. So
I find it hard to believe that Talksport would purposefully create a volatile news topic to garner clicks and engagement.
maybe we should do that.
I
So
mean, we
speaking
don't
of,
have to try, apparently.
no,
Just
we don't even have to say what we're being criticized for. Um, so this is going to lead into my last thing about England, I think. I hope so. This is going to be my first city point. We're bringing it back. It's been maybe a year and a half, but it's going to be kind of a city point quiz of who's that cricketer.
oh god,
Um, so Graham Swan has been working with the England Lions again before Christmas and leading into this year. So it's been working with players like Bashir and things like that, and the main England squad. Um, I'm gonna read you a quote about one of the players in the England setup. And the game for you is to guess who is he talking about. So yeah, who's that cricketer?
Lions
Um,
or main squad or
Main squad.
okay.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna not give you the hint beforehand. So right, I'm gonna jump in with I couldn't believe it. He took his shirt off, and I thought he was posing for a calendar or something. He's ripped to shreds, and he's done it because he wants to protect his back as much as he can. Honestly, you won't get over it. He's a machine. He's like Ken from the Barbie movie.
Uh,
So you gotta guess who is Graham Swan talking about?
Immediately going to Jimmy or Wood to do with
No.
protecting their backs. Jimmy because he like carries the whole team, and
Oh
Wood
yeah,
because he's always injured. Um,
I can
but
confirm it's neither of those.
I don't know. I just have a weird like sense in the back of my mind that Jack Leach is ripped as well. Like
Is
he
Jack
always,
Leach your answer?
yeah, I'm going Jack Leach.
It's Jack Leach.
Like he's just got that kind of nerdy head look, and
But of course, he's going to be absolutely buff.
he's got that Flanders vibe.
Yeah.
Stupid, sexy Leach.
Yeah, just I just saw that quite. I thought it was a good fun city point, but like it will be good to have I mean Leach back for the India series. I didn't really know he'd had back issues anyway, but yeah, there we go. That's my quick city point. It's back. There'll be a second one later, I think. Is there? I'm not sure. I might have one. I don't know. Um, I can't remember.
I mean,
Um,
that's silly in itself.
it is silly. But we're going to move on from England. Praise be. Oh no, I do have another silly point. It does involve England. Um, so Ben Duckett, you'll be familiar, um, is
If it,
launching.
it's to do with rhyming, I think I know where it's going.
Oh, do you? Well, he's launching his own. Do you want to call it business or I don't know, his own thing?
I don't know where
Um,
it's going.
um,
Oh, fuck, I know where it's going.
it's launching in 2024, and it is Duckett's Buckets.
Uh,
So he's making his own bucket hat range where you need to subscribe or you can follow the Instagram account Duckett's Buckets. Mainly because everyone made the meme that when they um brought buckets hats in, they all wanted to see Ben Duckett in a bucket. And now here we have Duckett's Buckets.
but
What a world we live in.
when I said rhyming, I was going along the lines of fuck it, but
Oh no.
then bucket hats came flooding all the way back.
Back they are. So that was my other silly point. What joy that is.
It is
Um
silly.
it's good to have it back. Um, Next up, we have more Test cricket to quickly go over about. India and South Africa had a two-match Test match series, the most pointless number of Test matches you can have in a Test series because you then reach this of a 1-1 and you don't have a winner and it's pointless. Um, but it was a series. Um, did you follow any of it?
Sort of, not really. I
What
mean,
is
you
yeah,
gave me updates, and that's about as much
sure.
following
I
of
mean
it as I did.
that's fine. I mean, the first one was kind of the bog standard Test match you would expect. South Africa played very, very well. Dean Elgar, who's retired now, was his swan song series. Got a fantastic big old 180 odd, I think, in the first game. And South Africa played marvelously in that first game, and India just didn't look like they'd shown up. It was kind of the epitome of cricket in South Africa. It's fast paced. It was the pitch had enough for batting if you had the technique of an Elgar. But then Rabada, Janssen, all these players were getting a lot out of the wicket. It was good Boxing Day, compelling cricket to watch. And I was back at my parents for Christmas, so it's quite nice to come down in the morning, just watch Test cricket at 8:30 in the morning, and it to be good cricket. Um, the second series, our second match was a bit more mental. It was officially the shortest Test match ever. Um, and India ended up winning by 6 wickets. I don't have the scorecard hand anymore because it happened ages ago. And if you are listening, you probably already know. But South Africa were 55 all out. India were then about 155 all out, I think.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and India lost 6 for none at one stage, which is mental.
With
Um,
7 ducks,
I think it was 6 or 7 ducks. Yeah, it
because
was
I think one of the
ridiculous.
openers got a duck as well.
Yeah, it was absolute chaos. It was one of those games where they were about 140 for four, and I was watching it, and I was sort of like, "Well, Cody's in, Rahul's in. I can't really be bothered to watch them grind out more scores. I'm going to do something else." And I checked the scorecard 2 minutes later, and it's all out, and I'm so what? It was mental, absolutely mental. Um, and then the second innings, I think South Africa must have got just under 200 or something, but Markram got a ridiculously good 100 when the next highest score was 12. Um, Absolute mad. It was like he was pulling off that kind of Stokes-esque innings, but no one was really staying with him, and it's all just kind of falling apart. But it was a ridiculous knock. A lot of people have been doubting him as an opener in Test cricket, and it just felt like that was him kind of being like, "Shush, please." Um, but then India did chase down. I think it was about 60 or 70 to win, 4 down. But we're still quite tricky and hard going to get there. And then the ICC have said that the pitch ranked as below satisfactory or something, or poor. But yeah, there's been quite a lot of fallout from that. Rowett was basically saying he can't see many people criticizing South Africa pitch, or if they're not going to criticize this one, then they should shut their mouths when it comes to tours in India and everyone criticizes their pitches for being over in 2 days. There was also Ravi Shastri using the analogy that if you took a dump, then you probably were going to miss the India losing 6-0, which is a wonderful piece of commentary,
which
which
is
we
what
love
you
to hear.
did.
Which is basically what I must have done. So what's your thoughts on this tiny short test match game? Is this good for the game? Is it fun silliness? Is it okay every now and then? Or what's your opinion about it?
Well, you said the ICC deemed the pitch to be below satisfactory. I assume they did that after the game.
Yeah.
So surely you see like several pitches on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so surely have the home team do what they want with the pitches.
Yeah.
But then have an ICC official inspect those pitches before the game.
Yeah.
So if they are shit, like this one, they can say, you can't use that. It's not up to standard. This one's fine. This one's okay. You can choose between those two, but that one's dog shit.
Yeah. There's got to be some kind of art of reading pitches, isn't there? I guess sometimes you don't know what you're going to get from it. I guess it looked like a normal pitch, but then it had weird uneven bounce and ones that jumped up. I guess you don't know until you start playing on it, but I don't. It just feels like an odd pitch to create. It was strange.
But like, surely there's going to be some signs of that right at the start of the game.
Yeah, you'd think so.
It just seems like a bit of a cop out for the ICC to do that after the game. It wasn't good enough for a test match to have been played on. Like, there's always other pitches yards away.
Yeah,
have someone inspect and deem which is worthy.
Yeah.
And then would also, like you said, this deserved a third match after this random bullshit match to
shootout game.
Because we don't know if this was because of the pitch or India playing better or South Africa having a off time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the third match, you can like clarify what it was.
Yeah.
Deem who was the best team over the series.
Yeah.
You don't take any questions about the pitch out of it, but whatever.
Do you enjoy those shootout games though? Like England and India had a very similar one 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. I forget where we are now. Where it was over in 2 days, and Root got 5 for 8 with the ball, something ridiculous. Well, they are weird,
funny, aren't they?
Yeah,
like they're enjoyable when you're like watching something completely fall apart.
Yeah,
it's a bit of like Schadenfreude. But like you don't have a dog in the fight, so like
no, yeah. It is. It's every now and then I think is okay because it then gives you that kind of variety of test cricket. Because otherwise, if you have the same format and formula for every test match, then surely it's going to get silly. But if you know that there's might be a one random game like this around the corner, I think it makes it quite interesting, especially when apparently no one can bat like a test cricketer anymore. So that's always fun. I'm going to jump seamlessly in to the next part, which we definitely didn't pause for as always. So the South Africa T20 League starts today. Well, it should have started today, but it was rained off. And South Africa have a test tour against New Zealand over the next few weeks, which obviously clashes with the South Africa T20 League, leading to South Africa picking basically a third, fourth team for the New Zealand Test Tour, which counts towards the Test Championship, and obviously prioritizing their big franchise tournament instead. It's caused a bit of a ruckus. South Africa put out a statement after they announced the squad, and it was basically torn to shreds, saying that they did everything in their power to reschedule this tour and things like that. But it does feel a bit crappy. That I mean, I think the South Africa T20 league, out of all these franchises, I think is a very, very good league, and it's short, it knows what it needs, it's got high profile players, it's got some of the best grounds, but it shouldn't be coming before international cricket, and that's just a kind of sad indictment of the way the cricket calendar is looking for international teams that aren't England, India, and South Africa and Australia. I have got a kind of overall big question about it later, but what's your thought about it in general?
I mean, depending on the squad New Zealand decide to pick,
Yeah,
it could be interesting. Like I find those sorts of games where you don't know who the
yeah,
players are interesting because it can go
yeah.
whatever way, but I doubt New Zealand will do that. They want to,
I think they go full strength. They want the points.
yeah, exactly. The rescheduling comment is total bullshit because
Yeah,
surely you knew both of them were going to happen at the same time,
yeah,
maybe even up to a year ago.
yeah.
Uh, like when the 320 Blast is on in England, there aren't many test players going to play for counties.
No,
There's no India test matches on during the IPL,
nope.
or not that I'm ever aware of.
Oh
Like
no, definitely not. Never, never.
I would say that's the same for the Big Bash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
The
it's
Big Bash goes on for about 4 years, so yeah, it does have some overlap with the Australian Summer and Test matches. But again, the best players are always prioritised for the Test matches for Australia.
yeah, like cricket in Australia is so hardcore that you want to play for Australia over
Yeah,
the Sydney Sixers or whatever names
yeah.
they have.
You got one right.
I was like, oh,
Yeah,
Brisbane Heat. So,
yeah,
all right, let's
yeah,
leave it while I'm ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's shit in it. Like,
It's bad. Yeah, it's especially because South Africa don't really have that many Test matches in this calendar.
mhm.
The fact that they, played so well in that first test against India, against, one of the best sides in the world, and, beat them quite comprehensively in that first game. I know they lost the second one comprehensively, but they were competitive in that shootout game. The fact that no players from that squad are going to be playing the next test, and the fact that they're going to have a captain making his debut as captain is just I can't understand how it gets to this. I mean, I know why. Obviously, South Africa, it's financially viable for them to have this franchise competition. They want their best players playing in it. Um, and then it kind of falls at the ICC's door as well to be like, you need to be doing more for the other teams that aren't England, Australia, and India. Surely the wealth needs to be distributed more, so you're getting the best players playing all the time. Um, my main point about this podcast, my main overall question was going to be: is Test cricket dead, or has it all been dead for a while? We've just been just carrying on normally, because Australia played Pakistan recently, and again in another very dead series where Australia won 3-0. We'll get to a bit more detail, but it that was just so one sided. Pakistan had like glimmers of moments that were good, and some things, I believe, what was his name? Amir Jamal got 18 wickets and played really well for Pakistan, but it was Warner got 100 and Cummins got 3 fifers in a row. Lyon got his 500 wicket. It was just kind of everything you expect. Again, we're going to be whinging about Australia doing well, but it's just become a habit that
Get
no
in the
one can,
comment.
but no one can compete with Australia in Australia, because they're such a dominant force at home. Um, Apart from when India have won there a couple of times, but if any other team, it's just what you're going to expect. And Pakistan showed glimpses, but nothing enough to really compete against them. They just, kept whenever they got in the game, they would just collapse the next morning and it'd be over. And again, that probably leads into the question to be like, what's the point in Test cricket if all these other teams aren't going to be competitive to the standard that makes Test cricket good? Like, if you're just going to have three teams who are good, what's the point in the rest? And I think it's slowly getting there. I think West Indies have not really picked a full strength side for Australia as well. Like Jason Holder had decided to play franchise cricket instead, leading up to the T20 World Cup rather than Test matches. Um, it's just getting a bit crap. It's like, what's the point in watching these if the players playing aren't great? I mean, Pakistan's coach, I think it's Mohammed Hafiz, who's now their main selector, I think, was saying, oh, there was positive to take out this series. It's a good learning curve. But a tour to Australia shouldn't really be a learning curve. That should be your best team playing against one of the best teams in the world. And it's messy and it's just a bit pants, I think. I think the ICC need to be doing more. Otherwise, it's just going to be wall-to-wall franchise cricket, which it is slowly becoming anyway.
I mean, the priority hasn't been Test cricket
Yeah.
for a while. Like, for England and Australia, I think are the two nations where it is the biggest format and the most prestigious
Yeah.
format.
Yeah.
I think you can make the case for like New Zealand potentially as well. They don't have their own, or like
Yeah.
they probably do have their own franchise league, but it's not like the same sort of levels as the other ones, like even the
Yeah.
South Africa one. Like, which countries are prioritizing Test cricket?
Yeah. There's no incentive for them to do so.
No, and even if it's like two of the big three, it's only two teams out of however many that play Test cricket.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Afghanistan has, like in the last few years, gone Test status. How often do they play Test
Participating games.
matches?
Yeah. Same with Ireland as well, isn't it? It's just, yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
Like, surely they'd be wanting to play Test matches to get better at the
Yeah.
format and to be like an actual threat. But the bigger nations don't care enough to like offer their services to those smaller nations to improve. They just
Yeah.
they're just happy to show up and play them and then lose to them at
Yeah.
World Cup.
Yeah. Because they'll get, their boards will get money out of going to an England tour and Australia and things like that. And they'll get some recommission that way. But the incentives are the massive money that they're getting, the IPL or the International T20 League or South Africa T20, all these things. It's just, you can understand for a player that, if you're a player from Sri Lanka or West Indies or something and South Africa, and you can get guaranteed good dollar for just playing a handful of T20s every now and then you're going to do it. Like, why wouldn't you? But yeah, it's going to get to the stage soon where it's going to be that there's going to have to be windows for international cricket as opposed to windows for franchise cricket because it's just getting mad out of hand. I mean, that's why England have done and Australia have both done their kind of multi-year deals to try and dissuade players from doing multi-year deals for franchises because that's where it's going. But that's not going to be the same for, the likes of South Africa. So it does feel like it's, death knocking at the door, but it does also feel like we've been talking about this for a long, long time. And I think, we're biased in England because Test cricket is always so big that you can kind of turn a blind eye to it sometimes. But yeah, I think it's getting to that stage, especially when it feels like no one can bat anymore. When you have like a day when 23 wickets fall in a day, and the same in Pakistan and Australia, and even Australia had a collapse there as well. It's just if we're getting Test cricket, surely it needs to be good Test cricket, not just whatever you're just rolling out. But we'll see. We'll see how England and India goes. That'll be fun.
If they get any TV rights.
Well, if we actually watch it, but maybe that's for the best if we don't.
But like also how the ICC could have like independently judged the South Africa India pitch. Surely they should be having more input in the scheduling as well. Like surely
they do the schedule. They for their Test Championship. It's their schedule that they decide. I guess it has to be with the other boards, but at the end of the day, it's their competition that they set up.
But then, like, are they the ones scheduling the individual series, or are the
Mm.
nations doing that themselves between each other?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Because that's the major thing for the South Africans. For me, it's like while the franchise leagues in other countries might be taking priority,
Yeah,
they are never directly impacting the Test cricket because they're
no,
not on at the same time.
yeah, yeah,
Like someone has looked at this scheduling conflict and been like, nothing we can do. That's fine. Can't do anything about it. We'll just have
yeah,
like Markram and Dukok and whoever,
yeah,
Rabatra and Ngidi just play
yeah.
Test cricket. Because
It's all the time now. You're getting these players like Henrik Klaassen announced the other day that he's retiring from Test cricket to focus on white ball. I mean, he's a bit of a different kind of example because he's only played like 4 tests. Um, but you know, you're getting all of these players ruling themselves out of red ball cricket so they can prioritize more of these kind of white ball things. And
but to
you
be
know,
fair, as we've seen with England, retirement means nothing.
true. I mean, for England, I think it means nothing. I think for South Africa or those kind of players or countries, I think probably means a bit more.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to happier things.
Right.
David Warner is retired. um, and I guess he goes out in style-ish. He lost his baggy green. I don't know if you knew that.
I did
He had
see
his
that.
yeah, he had his bag nicked, which had his baggy green in it, but then he found it the penultimate day of the test match, his last test,
I'm pretty
which I
sure it
was
was Mitchell Johnson that took it.
probably, yeah, that's always nice. Oh yeah, because all that drama as well. I haven't
Yeah.
got that in my notes, but that was fun. Um, so David Warner retires. I guess his my salty Englishness. He played 112 tests for an opener, which is pretty great. 8,786 runs, at highest of 335 not out. An average of 44 and a strike rate of 70 with 26 test hundreds, which is pretty good going, if I do say so myself. Um, I would say with Warner, you know, it's always going to be discussions of what's he like as a bloke, and there's always going to be the going back to the sandpaper stuff. There's also the kind of the punching of Joe Root in a nightclub or whatever that was, or a bar, and you know the ferocity of that kind of Australian side in like 2017, I'm going to say, against Africa, and you know he's very much the forefront of this. You know, giving off that kind of bully vibe, but then he's kind of looks like he's had that redemption since he came back for sandpaper. Um, you know, he is a multiple World Cup winner, both in T20, 50 over, and the Test Championship. Um, you know, he's a very good player. And I'm more annoyed or more sad that we're not going to see, you know, him nicking off to first slip in English conditions anymore. That's kind of my sadness. Um, what are your thoughts about Warner now that he's retired from both 50 over and tests?
I mean, it like it's changed throughout his career.
Mm,
Really, like you mentioned the Joe Root thing. He spoke of like a mental weakness when
mm,
England were playing in the Ashes in Australia around the
yeah,
time Jonathan Trott had some
yeah,
mental
yeah.
health
Remember that?
issues.
Yeah, yeah,
But like, I think the Sandpaper Gate situation had like really changed him. Like he realized in that moment how much playing cricket for Australia meant to him. You could see in his press conference
yeah.
just like how emotional he was. Like it doesn't take away from the
No,
stupid thing that he did, but like when Smith came back, like people were much more open to having him back. And that was partly because of how well he was playing.
yeah,
But people were much more antagonistic or less welcome to David Warner, like
yeah,
especially the English fans. And I don't think that was helpful in Warner's case because he had such a bad record against Broad. So it was like an easy target for English fans
yeah.
at that
And
time.
he had history, you know, off the pitch and on the pitch and that kind of stuff. So he's very much the pantomime villain you can easily go to. And you wonder how much of the instigating he was of the sandpaper stuff. It feels like he was the one who threw especially Cameron Bancroft under the bus. But then that is speculation, and I can't really say for certain.
Sure.
Um,
And like people change, and I think he has
yeah,
changed since then. He seems like a bit more of a chill dude since
he
then.
does. He does. Yeah,
Um,
I would agree.
like I've not heard too much, if anything, like that about him or anything he's done particularly wrong since then. And he's probably since then he's been better as a player. And I think because he had the opportunity to not play for Australia taken away from him,
Yeah, yeah,
that only driven him more. And he's won his World Cup since then. He's been incredible as a test player since then. Like test matches, it's very easy to just sort of go into your shell and
mm,
bat on. Warner's not like that. He's one of the most exciting test match players you'll get.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he won't sit back. He's just attacking you all
Yeah,
the time.
you could say he's a trailblazer for the modern game, basically. Like the way he plays, was very standout. Started off as a T20 player and then made himself to be one of the Australia's best ever opening bats behind, people like Langer and Hayden is quite something. Um, he, as all retirees do, he's going to write a book. His quote that he said the other day to the Club Prairie Fire podcast. He said, "There's definitely one in the pipeline, as in a book, and I think it'll be an interesting read. There's going to be a lot of things in that book that I think are going to raise some eyebrows in regards to Sandpaper Gate." So I feel that a lot of stuff is going to be said, not necessarily against his teammates, but I think Cricket Australia. I think he's been very angry at the way he's been treated in terms of his leadership ban, and the way he's come back, that he was never allowed to have any kind of form of captaincy within Australia again.
Like
Which
especially
he,
since Smith has since become vice
yeah,
captain.
yeah,
I was always like conspiratorially viewing that as a way for him to regain the captaincy.
yeah, yeah,
That's not
definitely.
happened yet, but I think it.
I mean, he's had the odd game when Cummins hasn't been able to play. He's stepped in as captain instead. But yeah, I think a lot of stuff is going to be said. I mean, he's got the World Cup this year, which he'll still play for the 20 over stuff for Australia. And I imagine the book will come out after then, where I think he'll, basically take no prisoners. And I think, that's in his right to. And I think that'll be interesting to say the least, I think. But yeah, that's Davey Warner basically. I think, did I have anything else about that Australia stuff? I don't think so. They play West Indies next. Oh no, there is big news.
Right.
Um, it's so much. What a ramble this is. Obviously with Warner retiring, Australia need a new Test match opener. Have you seen this announced today?
No.
Steve Smith will be Australia's next Test match opening batter, preferred to over the likes of Matt Renshaw, Cameron Bancroft, Marcus Harris, who've all been putting in the good hard yards for the Shield cricket, which is basically the county championship of Australia. And Cameron Green is going to bat at 4 instead. What's your initial thoughts?
I mean, on the one
Doesn't
hand,
affect us.
it's it's a bit weird seeing as he's so good at four, and that's where his best cricket has
Mm.
been. But on the other hand, he's also not that far away from retirement, I would suspect. And
Yeah,
like if he's a stopgap opener until they're more confident
yeah.
in another opener to take his place, or to just slot him back into four when someone can partner Ozzy, then
Yeah, they're just so desperate to get Cameron Green in the side, and I think Cameron Green's a very talented cricketer, but I don't really understand the huge hype. He's a he bowls pretty well. He bats okay, but I don't think he's ever really set the world alight. If I'm being salty English honest, um, I would have thought Travis Head would go at 4. If you're going to do that, and then Mitchell Marsh 5, and then Cameron Green 6. I think it's a lot of responsibility to chuck into Cameron Green to go bat 4. Because then what if that doesn't work? You're then going to then move Smith down again and then bring in another opener when you could just got an opener anyway. I think it's quite harsh on people like Bancroft and Matt Renshaw, who have just been putting in all the time, and they've they've had county championship stints and have been top run scorers in Shield cricket. To then, when their time comes, it's then like, we'll put a stopgap in instead. It's kind of, similar to how Folks, is England's best keeper and doesn't get the first gig, and they go for someone's stopgap instead. So I think it's just a way of the world of cricket, isn't it now? So yeah, that's basically that was the breaking news today, and that's caused some ruckus again. A lot of this is from not actual cricket happening; it's just from not other stuff. Very quickly, there's been some women's test matches going on. India beat both England and Australia at home, but then Australia managed to beat India in both the recent one days and T20s to prove and continue their cricket, international cricket dominance, basically. The World T20 groups have been announced for the West Indies and USA Cup in May or June, wherever. Massive shock in this. Basically, India are in the same group as Pakistan, and England are in the same group as Australia. I mean, I'm not sure how they managed to draw that. Huge news.
So it's a two-group format.
4 groups. So you've got
Okay.
England with Australia, Namibia, Scotland, and Oman. India with Pakistan, Ireland, USA, and Canada. West Indies with New Zealand, Afghanistan, Papua New Guinea, and Uganda. And South Africa with Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Netherlands, and Nepal.
Cool. So they're like just giving the top spots away for 3.
Exactly. Yeah. I loved it when they announced the draw, and it's like, well, it's not really a draw, is it?
You're just choosing who you want to go in which group. It's like what
Exactly.
you do as a kid, isn't it? Like you do a
Who you want in your
sort of
team?
World Cup or Premier League in your own
Nonsense.
head.
Absolute nonsense.
You play with you.
But yeah, I think India are playing Pakistan in New York, I think. I don't know what that pitch is going to be like. Bit concrete.
A jungle.
But yeah, exactly. So yeah, that'll be great. I just put Big Bash, etc. is ongoing. And yeah, my overall question was going to be about this Test cricket day, which we've covered. So yeah, I think that, thank goodness, is our cricket news. How did you find that?
A lot, isn't it?
It is a lot, and it doesn't feel like a lot of cricket has happened, but yeah, that's a lot of stuff. And the next stuff we'll be talking about cricket wise will be the India and England series that starts at the end of this month. And I guess we'll probably be doing some test match reviews for that if we can watch it. Yeah. Oh, and also Elise Plary played her 300th game for Australia, which is a mental achievement.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, I think one of the absolute greats of the women's game and just the game in general as well. So shout out. Yeah, that's it for me for cricket.
We haven't done a not cricket in ages,
Speaking. It's time for some not cricket.
right? Like, seeing as it's our first 2024 pod,
right?
Like,
I don't. Yeah, for the benefit of listeners, I don't know what the not cricket is, so this is news to me as well.
Yeah, like I don't find a particular worth in the changing of one number from one year to another, symbolically or otherwise.
Yes.
But as people who have a podcast, we are contractually and spiritually obligated by the denizens of podcasting to talk about our favorite things from the last year.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So I've got like just a list of 5 games and TV shows that I thought, but like, is there anything sticking out to you immediately?
For me, what I enjoyed most out of film and TV.
Yeah.
Oh,
just go,
what happened?
Like right off the top of your head. Then I'll go into mine and just see what you.
I've got to try and remember what happened last year. What did we watch last year? Film wise, not watched an awful lot of films. I'll be honest.
I mean, same. I couldn't pick out 5 films that I watched which would have been worthy of talking about in a positive light.
Like I've not watched because we have a dog. And yeah, we normally would go to cinema a lot, so it's kind of waiting for these films to come out. I would have liked to see Oppenheimer, um,
I really
but I
wanted to
didn't
do
see
the Barbenheimer phenomenon,
Barbenheimer. Yeah,
but it feels
yeah,
like you can't really do that now. It feels like it was all in the
that's
moment.
that. Yeah, so I would have liked to see that, and I'll be able to watch it when it's available. But I haven't seen it. I would have liked to see it. Um, the only film I went to cinema to see, I think, was Across the Spider-Verse. I think, um, which I enjoyed. I loved the artistic style of the first one and the second one. I think they're good fun. Um, I'm not ever going to watch a Marvel movie again other than Spider Verses, so I didn't see any of the MCU ones, thankfully. Um, what else? I feel like I need to see.
Yeah,
What
so
are your films of 2023?
old films can fuck right off. They're like our friend group wants to go see shit like the Marvels, and I'm not giving
No,
that
thank you.
like
Yeah,
time. Any.
yeah.
But like TV wise, we had The Last of Us, which is probably the
That
best
was, of course, it was.
video
Yeah,
game
brilliant,
adaptation of all time.
brilliant.
Like
Absolutely
I
loved that.
just like thinking about the hospital scene at the end of the
Yeah,
season slash
fantastic.
game and how different they feel.
Mm,
Like in the game, you're obviously controlling Joel, so
hmm.
you're in his mindset
Yeah,
in that. But because it's a game, you're just going through it's your objective and you've got to get from A to
yeah,
B to do this and then
yeah.
back again. And
Hmm.
you like question the morality afterwards.
Hmm.
Like in the show, it's giving you like this with sort of off, sort of not straight on camera angles. It's a bit
Yeah,
hazy, kind of psychedelic. So you're in Joel's mindset in a different way, in that he's just in a hazy focus.
yeah,
But because you're not like experiencing it firsthand, you're questioning the morality as it's happening. And it's just it was such a creative way to show that same
yeah,
thing from a different point of view.
yeah. No, brilliant. I mean, I've never played the game because I don't have a PlayStation. But I forgot that was this year. But I absolutely loved it. I was obsessed. There was obviously the episode where I think it was the second episode. Was the second episode or third episode where it's about? Can you remind me of the names of the gay couple?
Yeah, the third episode, it's Nick Offerman and
Yeah,
I can't remember the other, I can't remember the character's name.
he's in
To be
White
honest.
Lotus, isn't he, as well? The other guy.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was
I wish I
amazing.
could remember, but that's obviously not how it's really portrayed in the game.
No?
Um, but I thought that was just a brilliant piece of television, just as of itself. Like even separate from the series, just having that one episode away from everything going on and seeing their relationship and how everything's affected that. I thought it was brilliant. I just love. I enjoy apocalypse films and TV shows to an extent, but I think what's so good about Last of Us is you really get that kind of human and emotional element to it, and you attach yourself to these characters. And yeah, I forgot it was last year.
Right?
I think that's definitely my favorite thing I watched, definitely for sure.
Sure.
Um,
Like we also had The Bear season 2, which is that chaotic, tense comedy drama set in a
mhm,
New York, Chicago
nice.
kitchen. It's just it's mad in the best ways. It's
Yeah,
you feel the tension and you feel like your chest is seizing up, but you can't not watch it. And it's not like
nice.
tense in that someone's going to die. It's
No,
they make it a tense about, oh shit, is the restaurant gonna open or are they gonna like be able to serve food? It's just,
yeah,
and it's had like two of the best single episodes of television throughout last year, like of the 2020
yeah, sure.
fair. And they had those back to back, and they were just like such different tones.
Nice.
So it was fantastic. And like the second episode had a one guy who you wouldn't think would sing a Taylor Swift song out loud in a car do that.
Sure.
That was
Nice.
amazing.
Yeah,
I've been watching loads of anime and like Vinland Saga season 2
cool.
was just fantastic. It's
Yeah,
a Viking story set in the King Canute, Leif Erikson time period, and it's
nice.
just such a massive tonal shift from one season
Yeah,
to the next. that if this was a live action series that was produced by a Western country,
Yeah.
no one would stop talking about it.
Yeah.
It'd
Yeah. Yeah.
be above The Last of Us if this was like
It's always the
produced
way.
by HBO or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Honestly, like not much TV today. Yeah,
I mean, I thought I'd have a little look, but it's classic that a lot of last year is stuffed with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Shazam, Blue Beetle,
yeah.
Aquaman, the Marvels. It's just overstuffed of nonsense, isn't it? Um,
Like games for me was a bit better. Like I basically just watched anime in the end last year because that's how I felt the TV and film was going. So
yeah.
like we had Baldur's Gate 3 come out
Hmm.
last year, which is just like playing a massive D&D campaign. And like, I played through it twice, like over 100 hours
Nice.
into it. And it's still so much I know I haven't.
Yeah, that's really good to have though.
It's just such a fun time. And you'll be able to play like with friends over Wi-Fi as well. It's
That's cool.
such a fun game.
Amazing.
But like
Yeah,
the one game that I just became so enamored with, which I played in like February, March,
mhm,
is Stray.
mhm.
And it's set in like a post-apocalyptic world, bit of a tech noir,
Yeah,
neo noir sort of aesthetic. And you play as a cat separated from their family that has to like delve through this post-apocalyptic underground to reach the surface again.
yeah.
And it's just got
Gosh.
such a unique aesthetic
Yeah,
vibe where I wish I could forget I play it to play it.
yeah. Play
Like it's
again.
just
Yeah,
one of those games that you like fall in love with
yeah,
immediately. You can play it in like 5 or 6 hours in one sitting,
yeah,
and it just doesn't leave you because it's like a small developer as well. Like they've got
yeah,
so much creative freedom and like authority to do whatever they want.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel similar about those games, things like Hellblade and Limbo and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like games that I love playing, but I don't really know about the replayability because it's like those games have that kind of big impact on you that first time.
Yeah,
That's you know exactly what's going to happen. It's not like it's going to change, but that's good. I mean, I've not played any games properly new this year because I'm still stuck in the old past of stuff. Trying to think of other things. I won't go into it because I know you don't care. Doctor Who is back, so I'm happy about that. Uh,
I mean you have
um,
already gone into it while I was in your presence
yeah, yeah, yeah,
times, so I don't
yeah.
think
So I've had a good time with that. Don't think some of the have been the most perfect things in the world, but for any of our listeners who care, I think Why Blue Yonder was a brilliant piece of storytelling and TV just as of itself when it wasn't connected. And it felt like very classic Doctor Who. And now with Shooty, I think Shooty is a brilliant, inspired bit of casting. I think he's absolutely oozes charisma and is everything you want from the title role. And I'm very excited to see what is happening next with the new season and the direction they go in. Now it's separate away from David Tennant, and we can have a new series again. End Doctor Who note. Um, I recently it counts as 2023 because it came out in 2023. Recently watched Saltburn, which was an experience of itself. I don't know if you watched it.
no, don't know what it is.
I would recommend it just because I want to know your thoughts.
All right,
It's
so,
it's a film, and
it's a film.
I I spent we watched it on Friday night, and I spent most of the weekend like trying to understand what I had watched, and
Now, I think when someone describes film or a TV show like that, that's when you take note because then you don't want to give too much away.
yeah,
Like this is a watch
yeah,
this. It's got some
I yeah, I
things.
went in knowing nothing because basically I'd seen a lot of people I knew and in mutual circles and stuff, whatever, basically have that same reaction I had, and I was like, "What's this? I'll watch it." And I watched it, and I was like, "What is this?" Um, it's got a brilliant cast. Um, so it's a film that I came out of it not knowing if I feel like in time I'll go back and be like, I really enjoyed that. But I came out being like, did I like that? Did I hate that? um it's from the director who did Promising Young Woman with Carrie Mulligan, which I think is a brilliant film that came out a few years ago. Um but yeah, it's definitely got people talking and it's definitely trending. I won't describe what I think the genre is or what it is or what I expect it is because I think it's nice to go in fresh. But um, yeah, it's definitely a film that people have been like, "Have you watched this?" And I have. I'm like,
So that's
um,
our viewing slash playing list for listeners, viewers.
yeah,
Saltburn, Stray, The Last
yeah,
of Us, Vinland Saga, The Bear,
yeah,
and
yeah.
whatever Doctor Who if you want. But like,
Time travel show.
I
Yeah.
won't judge you if you don't. I'll judge you more if you do.
I'll judge you more if you come out saying that you enjoyed Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom.
Yeah, same.
um,
I'll
but
judge
no,
you
yeah,
a lot more if you come out of the Marvels and saying, you know what, that musical scene was inspired.
top tier. Um, is there anything we haven't got much time left on our little timer, but is there anything in particular you're looking forward to in 2024?
Um, I think there's a new season of Cobra Kai coming out. That'll be fun.
Yep. There's I think is it a new season? What am I talking about? Is War of the Rohirrim this year? Or is that next year?
Uh,
It could be
honest,
some point.
who can say at this point? I think
Yeah. You got
it'll
House of
be
the
out when it's
Dragon.
out.
House
That'll
of
be
the
fun.
Dragons. Yeah. You got another Joker film, haven't you? I believe. Uh
With Lady
Deadpool
Gaga,
3. Yeah, Lady Gaga. Um I don't know. I would happily wait for something like a Saltburn, which I'm not expecting, and then see that kind of thing rather than the big old hype of a thing. You got Dune Part Two. Dune Part One was a slog. Um, um, oh, we got Garfield the movie,
oh,
and we've got
there we
Paddington
go.
in Peru. So got proper stuff. But yeah, that's it from me, really.
Yeah, I'm done then. That's fine.
Well, we've got less than a minute, so very, very, very quickly, where can people find us?
Just not CrickPod, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, podcast places.
All the podcast places, and we will see you in the next podcast, whenever that may be.
OnlyFans coming soon.
Um, maybe.
Not with that attitude.
Okay. Yes.
Bye.
Bye.